The stage lights were blinding, yet he could barely feel them. The noise of the crowd faded into a strange silence inside his head. 13-year-old Eli Turner stood on the massive talent show stage, clutching an old, scratched guitar that looked as if it had lived 100 lives. His small fingers trembled over the strings, his heart racing faster than he could control. From the judges' table, 4 faces looked back at him, some smiling kindly, others skeptical. To them, he was just another contestant in a long line of hopefuls. But to Eli this was everything. This was his one shot, not just to prove himself, but to honor someone he could never see again. A soft murmur rippled through the audience when they noticed his worn-out shoes, his oversized denim jacket, and that battered guitar with a faded name etched into the wood. "Dad," one of the judges, a woman with sharp eyes softened by experience, leaned forward. "What's your name, sweetheart?" Eli swallowed hard. "My name's Eli Turner. I'm 13. I'll be singing Hotel California." A few surprised chuckles came from the crowd, an ambitious choice for a boy his age. But Eli didn't flinch. He looked down, pressed his fingers to the strings, and strummed the first haunting chords. The sound that came out was rough at first, almost shy. But then, like a slow sunrise, it began to unfold into something breathtaking. His voice carried a strange kind of sadness, too mature for his age. It wasn't the kind of polished sound you'd hear from a trained performer. It was raw, trembling, soaked in emotion. As he sang, the room fell silent. Every lyric seemed to hold the secret. "On the dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair." Each word felt like it had been lived. Every note told a story he couldn't speak. Halfway through, one of the judges, an older man known for being harsh, took off his glasses and wiped his eyes. Another leaned back, visibly shaken, because they could feel it. There was something real in his voice. Something that came from deep pain. When the song reached its bridge, Eli's voice cracked. He paused, his hand trembling. The crowd thought he'd forgotten the lyrics. But then, quietly, he whispered into the mic. "This was my dad's favorite song." A collective breath caught in the audience. "He used to sing it to me every night before the accident." The words broke him open. His voice wavered, but he didn't stop. He sang again, stronger, louder, like he was calling out to the heavens. "You can check out any time you like." A tear fell on his guitar. "But you can never leave." By the final note, the audience was standing. No one moved. No one even clapped right away. They were too stunned. It was as if the entire hall needed a moment to breathe again. Then came the roar. Applause thundered through the room. People were crying openly, parents hugging their kids, strangers wiping tears. But Eli stood still, head bowed, holding that old guitar tight. The judges were speechless. The woman who had spoken first leaned into the mic, her voice breaking. "Eli, I've heard this song 100 times. But tonight it wasn't a performance. It was a message." Another judge whispered, "That boy just sang his heart." And then the moment. The head judge stood, reached out, and slammed the golden buzzer. Gold confetti burst into the air. Eli gasped, staring in disbelief as it rained down on him. His hands shook, covering his mouth. He looked up toward the lights, as though looking beyond them. In that moment, it felt like his father was right there, watching. Proud. Backstage, producers swarmed him with congratulations, but Eli could barely speak. He walked to the corner, sat down, and held his guitar. He traced his father's name on the wood with his thumb, whispering softly, "We did it, Dad." One of the stagehands, an older man with kind eyes, walked over and crouched beside him. "That guitar, it's seen a lot." Eli nodded. "My dad played it every night. He was a street musician. Said one day we'd be on a big stage together." The man smiled gently. "You made that dream real, son. He's still playing with you." Over the next weeks, Eli's performance went viral online. Millions watched, sharing his story with captions like "The boy who made judges cry," and "A voice from heaven." News outlets reached out. Music labels called, but through it all, Eli stayed humble. When asked what he wanted most, he simply said, "To sing where Dad used to sing." So a few months later, on a cool evening, Eli stood on the corner of the street where his father once performed for spare change. Crowds gathered again, this time, not for a contest, but for a memory. He began to strum that same haunting melody under the street lights. And as he sang Hotel California once more, the city lights flickered around him like tiny golden stars. Halfway through, something beautiful happened. A little boy tugged his mother's hand and whispered, "Mom, he's singing like an angel." And maybe, just maybe he was, because the sound that filled the night wasn't just Eli's voice. It was love, loss, and the magic of a promise kept. When he finished, he smiled softly, whispering toward the sky, "We're